The question is often asked of Mom and Dad, how did you ever raise such a wonderful family? What was your secret? Well, for one thing, they never became discouraged when things didn't go quite right around the house. Nor did they ever lay down the law in a dictatorial manner. Naturally, they did use mild forms of discipline on occasion, when the circumstances warranted it. But generally, there were happy times in the household, especially at dinner time. Babysitters were carefully selected, only those who exhibited understanding and, of course, mildness with the children. Family vacations were always high points for the family, well organized and full of new experiences. There was always a pet around the house to add happiness to the home, except for this unfortunate canine friend, rejected because he didn't have a Bible name. And in school, the children always gave evidence of their good breeding and, of course, their fine intellectual abilities. And now let's go back to the days when the Roylances were young, learning the ropes of life, so to speak. Perhaps it would be interesting to eavesdrop on a few snatches of conversation from days past. Nice move, Mark. That martial arts exhibition will cost you a year's allowance to pay for a new for a new living room window. Was Dad really serious about room inspection at 5 o'clock? Hey, come on. Who's been goofing around in the bathroom with the saran wrap? You say Joseph and Sarah have been messing around with my stamp collection again? Yeah. Rebecca was hiding in the washing machine and I accidentally hit the switch. Yeah, give it a try, Ruth Ann. Dad says anybody can learn to like liver. I heard you, Esther. The whole world heard you. You mean that apple really had a worm in it? Zucchini casserole again? Let's get up and watch The Late Show. Nobody will ever find out. All right. Who's the wise guy that put salt and pepper in my punch? But I don't like zucchini. You say that Mom and Dad know about the telephone jokes you play on people after they've gone to bed? But I wasn't the only one dancing on the dining room table. Carol, I think it's him. I really think it's him. And then I told Mom and Dad what you did in Mary's closet. Yes, as a matter of fact, people did clap a lot at my dance recital. Okay, Mom. How about some steak and potatoes? I got zucchini coming out of my ears. And then he said, "This hurts me more than it does you." You say that David was really hiding in the attic of the girls' gym? Then Elizabeth said, "Go ahead and do it, but I might just tell Mom." John gets to do this and John gets to do that. You wait and see. They're going to spoil that kid. Let's set off some firecrackers in the basement when everybody's asleep. What business is it of yours whether or not I'm toilet trained? No, it's not a good day. I got a 4 on room inspection. Yeah, it's really true. Somebody in our family tied all those empty soup cans to the dog's tail. And such were the childhood days of the Roylance clan. Through it all, Mom and Dad must have done something right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is an opportunity to again take a look at the news behind the news. In recent days in Washington, D.C., we have seen a very controversial piece of legislation emerge from the House of the Senate. This is a piece of legislation from Mr. Tom Bushell, and it's an anti-gun legislation. We've seen these bits of legislation come and go, but this one seems to be perhaps more aggressive than any of the past. This piece of legislation proposed by Mr. Bushell would actually confiscate every weapon, every handgun, every rifle, every form of weapon from every man, woman, and child in the United States. It would confiscate them and stockpile them for future use for the police and the military. And of course, there's been strong reaction across the country. Tonight we would like to take a look at the common man and reaction to this controversial piece of legislation. First of all, we would like to visit with an elderly woman, and she has seen lots of history come and go in this country, and certainly would have an opinion about this piece of legislation. And so at this point we'd like to move to Little Rock, Arkansas, and to visit with Maud Dingle. Maud? Maud?
Eh? What? What's that you said?
Anti-gun legislation.
What? Anti-what?
Anti-gum legislation.
Oh, I'm opposed to gum. I haven't chewed gum for years. I was just a little girl when I gave it up. I think it's terrible. To think that the people put something like that and just chew and chew and chew all the time, make so much noise with the chewing, and they look like cows when they're chewing. It just does not look good. Oh, I think people should be more dignified than that. And then if they throw it down on the ground and people step on it and it sticks to their shoes, or it gets under the table because somebody sticks it under the table, and then you put your hand under there and you touch that, oh, I think it's terrible. I do not like gums. I think we should get rid of gum. Is that enough?
And as you can tell, ladies and gentlemen, our news program is completely unrehearsed, and sometimes you get something different than you'd anticipated. However, at this point, we'd like to move to a young law student who is in this country from Great Britain, James Geoffrey Witt III. This is a young student from George Washington Law School, and he has some feelings about anti-gun legislation. And we'll go then to our next spokesman.
Yes, I'm I am James Joffrey Witt the third, and it's quite interesting because I just the other day was talking about this exact topic with a couple of my professors at the law school, my economics and my law professor, and I brought up some interesting points that they thought was fabulous, and a couple of those were the first that if every man, woman, and child had a gun, the wondrous things it could do to our economy. Just imagine the money that would be put into the gun-making industry, put into the hands of the workers, the number of workers that would be able to be hired because of the demand. And they likewise would be able to spend that money elsewhere. And beyond that, a couple other points would be that the undertakers would have a great increase in business. And emergency response people, it's just money in the hands of people everywhere. And not to mention, might make people feel safe and might be a solution to a problem of overpopulation, especially here in bloody America.
And now we'd like to move to one of the vacation paradises of the United States, the Bird Refuge in Shreveport, Louisiana. Here we have a typical tourist, and we'd like to get the response at this time from Mr. Robert J. Pickering. Take it away, Louisiana.
Well, sir, I'll tell you, when it comes to guns, my philosophy is just this. When people's got guns, they're generally going to use those guns. And before long, they be shooting innocent, like birds, for example. I can't think of anything worse than to shoot innocent birds, sparrows and flamingos and seagulls and whooping cranes and even the spotted owls. I know the guy who used to go out every week, go hunting for spotted owls. Yeah, I invited me over one night, and we had something to eat. I said, "What is it?" And he said, "That's roast spotted owl." Well, I'll tell you, I raised $40,000 for endangered species, species like the flamingo and the spotted owl. That's something I'm worried about, is the spotted owls. No, sir, I'm opposed to more guns. I think we should get rid of the guns and keep the birds, okay? Keep the birds.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the news behind the news. And I'm your host, Dan Blather. We're grateful for insights tonight that hopefully have brought you some insight into the legislation pending in the halls of Congress. I think it would be unfair this evening for us to leave the air without perhaps taking this opportunity for somewhat of an editorial statement. We rarely do this, but we feel that this particular legislation is of such importance that perhaps we're forced to take a stand ourselves. We think that it's time for greater social responsibility to spread across every man, woman, and child, and think seriously about why do we need to carry handguns. Wouldn't society be safer? Wouldn't our future be safer? And wouldn't we be more likely of having a future if we could eliminate guns from the social fabric of the United States? Well, as we draw our commentary to a close this evening, we want to remind you of our sponsor, Smithson Cutlery Incorporated, the finest makers of stainless steel cutlery in the United States. And if you've ever tried to serve a lovely meal without having Smithson stainless steel cutlery at hand, you know that you've made difficult work out of something which might be much more easy. As a matter of fact, I'm personally committed to the beauty of Smithson blue steel with its wonderful cutting edge. As a matter of fact, I always I always carry with me an example of this beautiful cutlery. I always feel more secure on the subway, more secure in the air, more secure everywhere when I have beautiful stainless steel cutlery with me. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Cheerio.